every potential litigant must be aware that there is a limitation period within which proceedings are required to be issued in the High Court. That limitation period is a 2-year period, and if a person doesn't institute proceedings within that time, then their entitlement to proceed with their action is lost in its entirety. That is a very draconian obligation, in that there are many people who are quite ill arising out of a medical catastrophe that has occurred and are not in a position to instruct solicitors within the 2-year limitation period. Other people come in at the end of that period, and it is too late for them to be able to obtain the medical records, obtain an expert report to ascertain as to whether they received an appropriate standard of care. So the effect of the limitation period is to disentitle many persons with valid and appropriate claims from succeeding with those claims before the courts. In essence, it is a bar to justice in this jurisdiction and is operating in that way. It is far too limited. The effect on people in cancer misdiagnosis is the most apparent instance of the injustice arising from this limitation period. We see people who, having failed to be diagnosed in a timely manner, then are required to undergo the most draconian type of treatment possible, and during that period have no interest at all in instructing solicitors and focus inevitably upon their own health and well-being and indeed survival. Those people materialise at our doorstep, if they do, sometimes after the 2-year limitation period has expired, or alternatively they materialise when the treatment is concluded and there is a very limited time period in which to obtain the medical record detail and expert opinion. Those persons, by virtue of this period, either have lost their entitlement to proceed before the courts, or alternatively, if they do manage to instruct a solicitor within the time period, end up in a situation where they have to endure further pressure associated with getting all the necessary proofs in order before the time expires. If a person doesn't manage to institute proceedings within the relevant time, what occurs is that they've lost their entitlement to compensation. That loss of compensation can include loss of earnings for the period during which, for example, a cancer misdiagnosis person was on treatment or on additional treatment. And in addition, it can include loss of healthcare costs incurred and also damages for the additional pain and suffering that has been endured arising out of the treatment in a cancer misdiagnosis situation, such as radiotherapy and chemotherapy. That's very unfair, that's most inappropriate, and indeed it is a situation where injustice is allowed to be perpetrated by virtue of a technical defence available to the defendants in medical malpractice actions.